Welcome. You're listening to the Leading Hope Podcast. My name is VJ Williams here with my friend and pastor, Kevin Jack. Thank you for joining us, taking time out of your day to become a better leader. If you're new, we release a new episode every Wednesday. We'd love for you to subscribe every week and on your favorite podcast platform. We know what yours is from several weeks ago, but you might have your own. We want you to download that. Also, share it with a friend on Facebook or Instagram and YouTube, and rate and review on Apple Podcasts. You won't believe how that helps get this podcast in the hands of so many more leaders just like you who are trying to get better like we are every week. And visit leadinghope.online to get updates, find out more about the Leading Hope community. Kevin, today you start a brand new series.
Yep.
You're calling this Eager to Follow.
Yep.
Today is episode 169, not second rate.
Like not KN.
Right.
Just not.
I love it. No sponsor this week, but we do have a new series, Eager to Follow. I'm excited. What you got for us?
There we go. So main idea for today that we're talking about is that one of the most important contributions you can make to the mission of your organization, and one of the most overlooked aspects of healthy organizations, is knowing how to follow well. Ooh. And you may go, this is a leadership podcast, not a followership podcast, which isn't even a word, but we're going to use it throughout this series.
I like it.
But it really is like this idea of what it looks like to be, and how we've titled it is Eager to Follow, because following is a healthy, positive thing. It's not a second-rate leadership piece. Like, it is incredibly important to know how to follow well. So we're going to break down the content for today, but we're going to be in this series Eager to Follow for this week and the next 2 weeks, and then we'll start another series. So I'll start off 3 points for today. Point number one, while you will have opportunities to lead, you will always need to know how to follow. The opportunities to lead will come and go. Some people may be in a spot where they go, hey, when am I going to get my chance as a leader? But the reality that you need to see in terms of the importance is that you will always need to know how to follow. There's this story, I looked it up and I wasn't really going to verify all the details of it because it might not be true. It might be completely made up, if I could just say that. But that a woman was going back to college. She'd dropped out of college, been a mom for years, and she felt the need to go back to college. And on the application for the university, one of the questions was, are you a leader or are you a follower? She felt like she should choose leader, but she knew that she was actually a follower. And she checked follower. This is dated when I heard the story, so she didn't click follower. She checked follower. Figured she's not going to get denied, and she's going to be denied entrance because she's not a leader. A couple weeks later, her admissions letter came. She was accepted, and the letter said, out of over 10,000 applicants in our incoming freshman class, everyone else is a leader, and we figured we needed at least one follower.
That's amazing.
For all the leaders. And again, I don't know if that's true or not. We got this idea like the only value is the value in those who are leaders. And I want you to know, like, you need to know how to follow. And I believe that we have incorrectly defined followership as the opposite of leadership, or even as like entrance requirements for leadership. And if I could say, I believe that learning how to follow will teach you in some ways how to lead, but I also believe that it is its own separate skill, that it stands alone as a valuable skill set that people need to have. And I truly believe that great leaders and great followers work in a symbiotic relationship. And so here's what I mean by that. That like, if you have a great leader and there's not great followers, you won't go far.
Yeah.
I believe great leadership will teach people how to follow well, but each individual always has agency over their own decisions, and so they can choose whether or not they're going to follow. Great leaders may not, or great followers may not necessitate that someone is a great leader.
Yeah.
But I also believe that great followers, if you have great followers, you're far more likely to become a great leader and to continue to grow. And so I think we oversimplify the equation of what great leadership actually looks like. And we assume, they're thriving because they're a great leader.
Yeah.
Well, if you have great leader and horrible followers, you're still not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Like it's not working out. And so we need to understand, hey, this works back and forth, that in this dynamic of leadership and followership, they can reinforce each other in healthy ways that elevate us, or in toxic ways that continuously decrease the significance of the impact of the team and the organization as a whole. And if I could just throw this in here, granted, this is a leadership podcast, even though we're talking about followership today, but we believe in terms of faith, like Jesus's original invitation is follow me.
Yeah.
And that if you're a believer, that's your primary role as a follower of Jesus. And so even though you may be leading others, you're only leading others to degree, or you're only leading others in a healthy way to the degree that you are following in your own faith. So especially for a person of faith, don't be dismissive quickly of this idea of followership, because it absolutely applies to you no matter where you are.
I think that's a really powerful note too, because you were a follower before you ever got to lead anything.
Yes, absolutely.
Who isn't? And I think it's so funny. People are like, well, I just want to be my own boss. And here's the interesting thing. Like, even you find the most interesting man in the world, right? To anybody. Like Elon Musk is a very interesting man in the world, right? You look at him, like he may not.
We're not talking the Dos Equis guy.
No.
Okay, cool.
Just a different guy.
Yeah.
But like we say, well, he owns everybody. He tells the board what to do, all the things. But his boss is popular opinion. Mm-hmm. Right? So he still has, if he wants to sell cars, he still has people that he has to follow in order to do the thing that he's trying to do. So I don't think you outgrow it, is my point.
And
you don't outgrow followership.
I know this unnecessarily complicates the idea, okay? Yeah. But to say, like, if the people who say, I just want to be my own boss, probably aren't good at leading themselves.
That's good.
Because, like, to lead yourself is to follow the standards and rhythms that you have preset. And I know that may sound ridiculous.
Nope.
You go, no, you're still in charge. You're still kind of following an idea that you set out.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, second idea today. One of the reasons that we have dismissed followership is because we don't understand that there are different types of followers. And so we may have heard at one point in time follower, and we just thought, I don't want to be like them. They just do whatever they're told. And so we got this idea of that, like, all following is bad following. And the reality is, just like anything else, like, there's healthy leadership, there's toxic leadership, and there's healthy following and there's toxic following. There's a way to follow poorly, and there's also a way to follow well. So if I could give some different categories as to what this might look like. And here's how I kind of have them broken up, that followers are different based upon how high or low their level of independent thinking and motivation/energy, whichever one you want to prefer to use. I'm going to use the word energy throughout this, but followers differentiate based upon their independent thinking and their level of energy. And obviously you could end here in here as well, like, are they making a significant contribution? Are they not? Are they willing to challenge authority, or are they not? That kind of falls into independent thinking. But if we could just kind of create some categories on independent thinking and energy. So here's categories I give. VJ, would you be my sound effects for this?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So first off, there are sheep. Sheep are passive in their thinking, and yet they look to the leader for their energy. Okay, so we say, hey, that's it. They're low thinking, low. Their energy just wavers based upon the leader. They are yes man.
Yes, I'll do it. Yes, whatever you say. Yes, whatever you say. Right now.
I really want to go through this, see what you do on the next one. Yes, man, high on energy, but very low on independent thinking. And then there is the individualist.
Yes.
There we go. I was really curious as to what you think of that.
Yes.
Thank you. The individualist is high on independent thinking, but they're actually negative as it comes to energy. And I can remember sitting in rooms with people, and they legitimately thought that the greatest value that they brought to the organization was their contrarian view. And there may be times that the greatest value you bring to the organization is a different perspective, a different viewpoint, but it should not always be the greatest value you bring to the organization. And we had to have this conversation on how cynicism is not a spiritual gift. Like, the grace that God is giving you is not to poke holes in everything that's coming your way. And so those are just a couple of them, but I really believe we've negatively viewed the word followership, because when we think followership, we either think sheep or yes man, or we may think, oh, I'm not following, I'm an individualist. And you do fall into these categories. And so if I just give real simply, hey, a healthy follower is high on energy and get high on independent thinking. They are bringing their contribution without being motivated, and yet they never give up thinking for themselves within the process. Now, this is not necessarily the easiest person to lead. The easiest person to lead is high on energy and they're low on independent thinking, because they'll do whatever you say. But the healthiest person to lead is high on energy and still high on independent thinking, which means some decisions may get slower because you need to get their input. Some processes may change because they're going to push back at times, not in a negative way, not in a toxic way, but they're going to push back on times. And you just need to know as a leader, if that's the case, that what they're doing is they're making it better throughout the process. And it's also the process they need to go through in order to buy into the vision and to buy into what you're doing. And so I would say, not just as a leader, but as a follower, to understand the healthiest thing you can be is not someone who always says yes and not someone who is always waiting to be told what to do. The healthiest thing you can be, the greatest value you can bring to the organization, is to be high on energy and yet still high on independent thinking without becoming negative in your energy. Good?
Yep, good. I want to ask you a million questions, but I'm not going to.
Let's keep rolling. Hit anything at the end.
Let's do that.
Third idea. Oh, I just hit the mic. Hope that's okay. Following well must be defined in terms of level of contribution, not blind obedience. So I just want to put that last in so we can push back fully from this idea that a follower is simply just told what to do and they carry it out without question. But really, following well has to be defined in terms of level of contribution. And so the most fundamental role of the follower is to participate in what is taking place. And I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with people that it was just a sense of, well, they're going to roll out this initiative and I'm just going to go do my own thing, as if that's the best thing you could do. To say following well is defined by your level of participation. Blind following is not good followership. Just taking whatever comes your way and saying, I'm absolutely going to do it, no questions asked, that is not good followership. Pushing back at all times is not good followership. Seeking out ways that you can make healthy, positive, significant contributions to the organization is what it looks like to follow well, which is a skill in and of itself.
That's great. There's two ways to start asking questions here. My initial approach would normally be to say, well, how do you get people to do this, right?
Yeah.
But then that's going to take another 10 hours.
Fair.
We've got about 6 minutes left. So instead of going down that route, I want to ask questions to you about culturally, why has it seems, and maybe it hasn't, but it seems like following people outside of Instagram is not good.
Yeah.
What is that cultural barrier that we need to help people get over that says that following is not a bad thing? Because in order to be a great leader, you need to be able to learn how to follow.
I think as this field of leadership has grown and the teaching on leadership has grown, also the spotlight on leaders has grown. And so we don't understand the significance and the contribution of the person who is a follower and how beneficial they are.
Yeah.
And I'll even say it like this, like we get the language off on there is we'll say it, people think that bad followership is a sign of their excellent leadership. So if I could go, John Maxwell's like law of the lid. He says like, as you increase your level of leadership, the impact of your organization increases.
Yeah.
And he says like, and the type of leaders that will follow you. And he says, leaders who are at a level 8 won't follow someone who's at a level 3.
Yeah.
Leaders who are at a level 9 won't follow someone who's at a level 7. So we go, I get that.
Yeah.
And what happens is that someone gets around a leader and doesn't want to follow them and assumes it's because they're a better leader.
Yeah.
You just might not know how to follow.
Yeah.
Like you may be a horrific leader and also a horrific follower.
Yeah. So there's an ignorance almost that people just aren't aware that they're not able to follow.
Yeah,
like
I
they
believe
don't
that.
really care to understand it, or they just, I mean, it's just hasn't been taught.
Yeah.
Like, that's good. That's why the podcast is so important. I'm learning right now. On top of that, Is there any questions that you have that can help people
let's run through
move
this.
forward with these as they're outlining how to become a better follower?
Yeah, so I want to end all of the episodes in this series with just a couple questions for application for individuals, okay? So as we're, for some of you, introducing this idea that, hey, followership is a positive thing. Followership is valuable in and of itself. Here's some questions just to be able to think through. So first one is this. I've got three. First one, how good does a leader have to be for you to get on board?
Oh.
And I could just let that sit there and let that be the only question. For some people, I'll just say it like this.
Great question.
If your boss is dumb, your boss might be dumb. If all your bosses are dumb, you're dumb. If your boss is a jerk, he might be a jerk.
Right.
If all your bosses have been a jerk, you're the jerk.
Yeah.
And I think some people if every boss you have is someone who can't lead, it's probably you.
Yeah. No, that's
I'm not saying they're phenomenal leaders,
right,
but you're a factor in this equation on there. So how good does the leader have to be for you to get on board? Second question, how poor can a leader be and you're still able to make a positive impact?
Yeah.
I think that's actually a great, I'm not saying you should stay there forever, but that is a great revealer of how good of a follower you are to go, I can help a bad leader still move forward.
Yeah.
You don't want to live there forever.
No.
But I think that shows that sign. And then third question is, how quickly can you identify when you become a negative influence instead of making a positive impact?
Ooh.
Are you able to discern that you're actually detracting from the whole instead of adding to the whole? And I've never met an employee who thought, I'm taking this place down. I'm dropping morale, I'm killing energy, I'm detracting from people's focus. No, but I've met many people who thought this whole place is dumb and they're lucky to have me, but I'm getting out as soon as I can.
Yep.
There you go. Are you able to discern I'm no longer making a positive contribution? We'll get to that in the third episode of this series, episode 171. But I do want to ask that initially. Are you able to discern when you're making a positive impact and when you're having a negative influence?
It's great. 3 questions. The funny part, we actually had some people that asked us this week to have some questions starting at the end, and this week is the first week.
Asking you shall receive.
Asking you shall receive. That's exciting. So thank you so much for joining us today. Make sure you check out those questions. Will be on the website, leadinghope.online. You can check that out. If you're new to the podcast or haven't subscribed, it means the world to us if you did that now. Also post about it, rate and review, or both. You won't believe how that helps get this podcast in the hands of so many more leaders just like you. And we love hearing your stories. Visit leadinghope.online. Send those to us. We would love to hear from you. And remember, everyone has 20 minutes to learn to become a better leader. Make it count. Woo!